As the world races towards a future driven by technological innovation, Africa stands poised to leverage its unique strengths and overcome its challenges through digital transformation. Hi, my name is Dorcas Yakubu and you're watching Tech Talk on Trust TV, where we talk technology. We'll begin by taking a report on today's topic of discussion. Stick around. With a rapidly growing population, increasing internet penetration, and an expanding tech ecosystem, the continent is witnessing a technological revolution that is set to reshape its economies, societies, and cultures. But what does the future of technology in Africa truly look like? Let's take a look at the rise of digital economies. Africa's digital economy is already growing at an unprecedented pace. The continent's tech startups are flourishing, particularly in fintech, e-commerce, and digital services. With over 1.4 billion people, Africa is becoming an attractive market for innovative solutions. One of the most promising sectors is fintech, which has gained significant traction across the continent. Countries like Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa are leading the way with fintech giants such as Flutterwave and Paystack, transforming how people in Africa conduct financial transactions. The rise of mobile payments, digital wallets, and cryptocurrency solutions are redefining financial inclusion, offering banking services to millions of unbanked Africans. In the coming years, we can expect fintech to become even more embedded in daily life, extending to rural areas and underserved populations. Alongside fintech, e-commerce is expanding rapidly, powered by a growing middle class and the increasing adoption of mobile internet. Another is artificial intelligence and machine learning. Artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning, ML, are set to be game changers in Africa's future. While many regions of the world have already made strides in AI, Africa's vast, diverse landscapes and unique challenges present an opportunity to harness these technologies in ways that are locally relevant. AI could play a transformative role in sectors like healthcare, agriculture, and education. These and many more are technological revolutions that are set to reshape economies, societies, and cultures of Africa. Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, you're watching Tech Talk on Trust TV. We're now joined by Nosa Endurance, a VR developer. Good to have you on the program once again.
It's so nice to be here again. Thank you again for inviting me to the studio. I do enjoy our conversations.
You are very much welcome. Yeah. So let's start by, knowing the most exciting technological development in Africa, today and why.
All right. So, from recent conversations in the tech ecosystem in Africa, you would think AI would be the most...
I was about to say AI.
Right. You would think, although its place is not in, it's solidified already, but what is making the most impact in the life of the Africans on a day-to-day, because we will have to also keep in mind that we are not all tech users.
Yeah.
We have more non-tech adopters than we have tech adopters. Just that the tech adopters are more vocal. Yeah. They are everywhere. They are on Twitter. They are shouting. They are just everywhere. But we have people that don't adopt tech, like the generation before our own. If not WhatsApp and Facebook, they don't really concern themselves.
I think you should say if not smartphones. Some of them just use smartphones.
Exactly. So the most effective tech in Africa right now is really alternative energy sources. Okay. Right, the use of inverters, solar power, and all of that to provide alternative energy, especially in Nigeria or in African countries where electricity is still like a battle, right? So they are really in the last year, but to be honest, it's like a 5-year thing now.
Okay.
But in the last year, that was 2024, there was really a push for it. Like, I've come to notice that wherever I go to, offices, homes, there's always alternative power, and it's not a generator. It's either they have inverters or they have solar powered like batteries and whatnot. So that is like the most visible thing, and that is like the most profitable venture at the moment. I think fintech has kind of peaked, right? So people are going to alternative power sources, and then on the other hand we have edtech, education technology. It is really it's starting to pick up because it can no longer be ignored. We can say no, technology has no place in education. We want to keep using pen and paper, but then there's AI. How do you convince a child to write an essay when they can just put that essay into ChatGPT or DeepSeek and then they spit out the complete essay and you cannot tell who wrote it? Right? So we have to know.
I think you can actually tell, but I don't think Africa is really investing in this application that can tell you that, oh, this is AI written.
Well, you can tell, right? You can tell by trying to gauge the performance of the students. To, like, you know, you can say, okay, this child traditionally will not be able to write this following their track record, right? So how do you go from speaking bad English to all of a sudden writing pristine English with your points very clear? You know, so you can start to see that we are assisted, but then we have to start to look at the technology that is behind it, right? So that we'll find ways, because the way we went to school is not going to be the way the next generation is going to use, like, the educational system. I was having a conversation with one like a secondary school student, and then he said that I have to go do something, and my teacher put our homework in our group chat. Did you have that while you were growing up?
Absolutely not.
But can you think that after we closed, we are still interfacing with the school? Like, you left school, you're at home now, you're still interfacing with your teacher in a group environment where all students can chip in, like, okay, this is your assignment for this evening, and I didn't have to write it on a chalkboard. So we have to kind of look at the role that technology is going to play in education going forward, because it's not going to be the same thing as it used to be. And it's not even, we cannot ignore it. It's not a passive thing. It's not an active thing. We cannot try to say we are the one controlling it. If we don't control it, to control us. So we have to find a way to, like, okay, let's incorporate it, because if not, we can no longer decide merit. How do you know who actually knows what they are doing if everybody can just access technology that is just as intelligent as a human being? Right.
So edtech is popular right now.
Edtech has to be popular. Not only is it popular, it has to be popular. It doesn't even have a choice.
Okay, so with the level of growth of the tech ecosystem right now in Africa, how do you envision it in the next decade? Is it going to be growing with the pace at which it's going, or will it diminish?
No, it will continue to grow. There is a lot of headroom. We are not like the Westerners or the Easterners that are kind of at the forefront. So we are, just because we use social media and we are very vocal, does not mean we are at the forefront, right? We use the technology, we are adopters at this point in time, right? So there is a lot of space between being an adopter to actively moving the industry, right? Just see what China did to the whole global, if not even just tech ecosystem, even the global economy felt it, because just by releasing a product that is way cheaper, like a fraction of the cost, everything changed. Nvidia stocks was hit, OpenAI stock, everybody felt it, because they have moved from adopters to now disruptors in the industry. So Africans, we have that headroom. We have a lot of space to become adopters. But in the near future, say the next 5 years, what we have already been doing, I think I will see a major scale up, right? Like we've been exporting manpower, like the remote work, intelligence, exporting intelligence. Like a lot of persons don't do traditional jobs anymore. Everybody wants to get a remote job, and this is not new or unique to us.
So as much as it looks like tech is really growing in Africa, you'd agree with me that it's still, the adoption is quite slow.
Yeah, the adoption
in some sectors, in some aspects of tech, it's quite slow. So I'm talking about Africa as a whole. How do you think this problem can be overcome?
Tech education, right, is going to be not just like educating the public on the availability, and then not only availability is, okay, now that you know that this thing is available, how do I even use it? Because the one thing we are ignoring is that there's such a disparity, like there's so much gap. Okay, like I lived the life where I saw the phone, like the first, those Samsung Bluebird.
Flip.
Exactly, those phones, and then we had Nokia's, and then we had this. So I saw the evolution of technology up to the point of iPhone 15, 16, right? So imagine a person that did not, the shock of the changing technology is so much that they don't have the mental framework to actually adopt it. Like, assuming the way you used to receive information was through town criers. And now you can just have Twitter and you know what is happening in the other side of the world. It makes sense to us because it's like we grew up with it. But somebody that like a 60, 70, 80-year-old person would be like, this is black magic. Like, no matter how you try to make them understand, they get it. They understand that, okay, yes, in the phone there is news. But the mental framework is so different. Like now, I used to be this person that every technology that comes out, not only do I know how they work, I try to okay, let me manipulate and see how most technologies up until AI. For me, AI, I just know I have to use it. But I can tell, okay, they said models, and then you're trained on 1,000, so billions of data. I can understand that, but I don't know the nitty-gritty, right, of how it works, like the details. And this is me. Now, imagine a few years into the future. I'm tech inclined. A few years into the future, say 20, 30 years, and the technology that comes out, if I don't keep up actively, or I was never ever in tech, it's going to be so different that it's just too far. Yeah. So tech education, and then a consideration for the last generation that, okay, this tech is a bit far from them to understand, and then we have to now know, okay, the ones coming up have to be educated in this area, so that, because we are seeing very unusual jobs, like there are game developers in Nigeria now. There are what's it called? Okay, web developers is obvious. App developers. These are jobs that, when I was in secondary school, nobody was like, sir, I wanted to be an architect. So nobody was, teacher, I want to be a web developer. Those jobs did not exist. Exactly. They did not exist a few years ago. So I am very sure now, when you go to secondary schools, there are children actively trying to be game and web developers right now. So yeah, we have to trust the process and know it's going to take time.
So earlier you touched on fintech, and this is me paraphrasing. You said the hype has dropped. Why do you think it has dropped? And also, does it mean this is the end to the fintech sector?
At all. What I think, and this is my opinion, not a fact or anything, right? So we have to be clear with that, right? So what I think is that it's a peak. You know how if you were in the hospitality sector, a few years ago it peaked. There was really nothing to do until people started doing Airbnb and whatnot, right? So it's like,
there's no hype to it.
Exactly, another hotel.
It's not something
you know, it's not the first time we saw something like, say, you transferred money with your phone. It was new, right?
True.
And then you could get a loan without going to the bank and seeing anybody. That was new, right? I can't see what they will do. So I'm starting to see that they have reached their peak, just like what phones are. There's nothing to really do with a phone. Now they are just adding AI. They are saying that even the cameras are no longer innovating. You understand? So an iPhone 15 and an iPhone 16, there's really no difference if you come to the details of it. So I think the fintech sector in Nigeria is gradually getting to that point where they are peaking. Is a peak. I want to be surprised. Let me not be pessimistic. I want to be surprised. Let me see next year an agency comes out, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't think of that. So yeah, but I believe that Nigerians are that smart. So we are looking forward to what they will do. But in my opinion, I think it's peaking.
All right. Earlier, behind the cameras, you spoke of internet connectivity being one of the major problems of tech in Africa. Can you please talk about that a bit? Okay.
So the issue with internet connectivity is a bit is strange, right? Because even me, I would not have given this answer like 3 months ago. Because when you live in a city, you have access to high-speed internet. You have the means to also pay for high-speed internet, right? At the office, we use Starlink. At home, I use MTN, right? Cumulatively, that's almost 60 to 100K in internet bills a month, right? But if you try to look at the income of people in areas that are not the city, so you automatically begin to understand that they might not be able to afford, even if they are now available, right? You have 5G home router that would give you 300 gig for 30K. Is that the internet speed is fantastic. I don't know if that will be the same across the board for every part of the nation, or part of the continent. But you see that the cost of still paying for that data can be a barrier for most of the population. But because we are not directly affected, we're in a city, most of our jobs will be able to afford these things, can afford the luxuries of high-speed internet and whatnot. You start to think that no, it's the same for everybody, but it's not. My perspective changed when I went home. I think I was discussing with one of the younger ones at home. I was trying to inspire them to pick up tech. I was like, do you know that you can really learn everything on YouTube? And I was like, YouTube, they chop data because I have not even considered data as a problem for maybe 5 years now. I don't think of data. My data I don't think of it at all. So, but I realized that being that I have moved past that barrier personally does not mean that everybody has moved past it. But if we don't move past that barrier collectively, that data is so cheap that even somebody on a minimum wage will be able to afford it at a rate where they don't have to think about data as a thing, right? Then we have not really we have not really opened Pandora's box in that sense, because if you think about it, that data gives you access to everything else. It's going to give you access to free lectures. So in that sense, free lectures are not free, because you still have to pay for data to go and access those lectures. So free information, being up to date on what is going on. Like we just discussed DeepSeek.
Yeah.
DeepSeek is not like 2 weeks old.
Yes.
Right, but we know that already, because I think we even knew from the day it came out.
Yeah.
And that's because you have access to these things. There may be somebody now that, not from lack of interest, but from lack of access to the internet, will not know. It's not as if they are not interested in it or that they are oblivious. It's like, I would like to know, but I've not been able to subscribe for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's kind of something we also have to look into, and that's why I said what I said concerning internet connectivity.
Okay, so we spoke about the problems. Let's go to the solutions. What do you think is the urgent infrastructural development that is needed to accelerate Africa's technological growth?
I don't know if I'm going in circles, but I feel like I've said something about educating people on technology.
Yes, you have.
Right. So yeah, we need to educate people. That's one. Since we've talked about it, let's put that on our side. But the next thing we really need to also do is just what we discussed. We need to find a way to make data should not be a problem.
Okay.
Information should be democratized. Everybody should be able to access information. It should be a human right at that point. It should be like, oh, you as a Nigerian should be able to afford internet. You should be able to get access to information, because if you can't access information, there's really nothing much you can do. Because at that point you are in the I've forgotten what this thing is called, where you don't know that you don't know. So when you know and you don't act, then you knew but you did not act. But when you don't know that you don't know, there's really nothing you can do, because now you have a problem that you don't know you have.
Yeah.
So we need to be able to eliminate that, and it's okay if you want to access whatever information you want, let it be available to you, and then so we cannot accuse you of laziness and be like, oh, was it not available to you? Why did you not go and do something about it? Yeah. So that's kind of why I think let's educate people on the availability of tech and how to use them, and then the other thing is give them access to that tech by making internet data as cheap as possible. Right. If it's subsidization, whatever we have to do, let's try and make it as accessible as possible.
Okay, so still talking connectivity, we've seen the expansion of 5G networks in some African countries.
Yeah.
What next?
I thought of this recently. I think what Elon Musk with Starlink, is the next logical step. He's in 17 countries in Africa right now already. But the problem is, again, access, right? A Starlink device, I think the cheapest is about 500k in Nigeria. So the equivalent in dollar and in other countries is not heavily subsidized or anything, but it makes more sense, right? It removes a third party, although there's still the third party of the Starlink, but now it's direct access. So it feels like the next logical thing if satellites can communicate with phones. So you don't have to say, I'm buying from MTN. You buy data directly from Starlink, and you don't need extra hardware to put outside. It's your phone connected directly to the satellite. So there are things like there is no network in my area. It's gone.
Yeah.
There is no my internet speed is no good because I'm using MTN, and Glo is better. Those kind of things. You eliminate small things. But then there are other problems that it will introduce. Like now, the one we use in the office, if there is hint of rain, there's no network. Right. So
they should work on that.
Yeah, I'm very sure that they'll be able to find ways around these things. But for me personally, at a global scale, I feel like we should be able to interact directly with. We are at that level where we have enough satellites in the in low orbit that we should be able to interact directly with phones and all of that.
In what sectors do you think AI has the most profound impact in Africa?
Okay, so I'm going to speak sector-wise, right? Because I can't make a generalized argument now. Okay, so there's something very surprising that happened. I used to work as a graphics person a few years ago, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago.
Before I became part of people that are collecting money like bandits.
So I used to work as a graphics person, and I could have, I would swear that no, AI cannot do anything to graphics. Right? Now, what I did not consider is that graphics or visual arts is very subjective, right? They can say, oh, why did you use yellow here? Say, it is my style. If you're doing something like code, you can't say that. There is no style. Does it work or not? right? If you say, they said, oh, write a code that makes 1 plus 1 2, and you write code that makes it 1 plus 1 3, and then ask you, I say, this is your style. So what I'm trying to say is that visual arts is one of the places where AI surprised me. I didn't think it was going to disrupt that sector as fast. I thought it was going to go for numbers, that is analysts and whatnot, or those statistics and whatnot. That's where I thought AI was going to disrupt first. And then I thought it was going to go to code next. But it started with visuals, like illustrators, graphic designers are the first people that were directly affected by AI, right? And then now it is starting to transition to code, but it will not get code for the next maybe few years because code is too precise. The AI has to be smart enough to not make any mistakes. But in visuals, if you make a mistake, you can pass it. You can be like, oh, it's my design style, it's my design choice. It doesn't matter. But in code, if you make a mistake, it will show. So the sector I think it will disrupt the most first is visuals. Anything that has to do with visuals, cinematography, in fact, photography is already gone because nowadays I don't even bother with images anymore. Whatever image I need, I just type it on maybe Google's AI, and exactly as is in my mind. In fact, what I envision,
it's even better visuals,
even better than what I would have found on the internet. So I no longer search on stock image websites. To me are dead. I don't even bother with them anymore. I don't go to stock image websites to look for images anymore. So I just use AI for images. So cinematography, videos, they are coming for videos. Sora is here now. Yeah. But it's still rough. It's still rough. It's not done yet. But obviously it's going to improve.
Sora has mistakes.
Significant mistakes. So Sora is going to improve. Obviously, that's for video. Multiple AI models for images. There are AI models that does illustration and graphic design now. So you see that the visual spectrum is almost already covered. So what we have now, if you are a graphic designer that is still competing with AI, you've lost. You have to be I'm not even joking. You have to be a graphic designer or visual artist that incorporates AI into their work. That's the only hope.
Do you think Africa's young population has the potential to drive the continent's tech revolution? And how can we ensure they are equipped for this role?
They not only have the potential, they actually have surprised me significantly with their adoption. And do you know what I really love about this generation? They are very frank with themselves.
Yeah.
They see with my generation, and I'm not exempting myself by saying my generation. I'm not criticizing like an elderly person, right? So what we still had this thing of saying we had a vision of professional careers. So I'm going to be a lawyer, doctor, architect, those normal professional careers, and then we now realize that things have changed, though it might not work. So I will not pivot, right? So what that means is you've spent a lot of time doing this thing. Like I spent 7 years in architecture school, and now I am a developer, right? I still do architecture from time to time for family most of the time. My uncle is disturbing me to come and build a house for him now. So I still do architecture, but I wouldn't even identify as an architect. Like if you ask me what are you, I won't go to I'm an architect.
Yeah.
But you know what this generation I know, at least the ones I know, or at least, obviously they are serious minds, and then but the serious minds I know, they'll be like, me, I'm a trader. Like, how are you 15 and you're a trader? Will you not go to school first? I'll just go to school for my parents, but me, I'm a trader.
Yes.
And
some of them won't even go to school.
Exactly. So the thing is that resolve of mind, just being clear with yourself, because I there's one thing I frankly believe is that whatever it is that you chase frankly, you will get. Because there's no way to put 10-15 years into a particular career path and not start to see patterns. You have to start to say, okay, so this is how this thing works. If you have failed a few times, you have to realize, okay, if I do this, it usually does not. Okay, this is what I should probably be doing. So they have picked their careers, and they don't even bother with. They go to school for, I would just say going sick at that point, because I've not seen anybody that I talk to and be like, I hardly hear traditional careers from them. Doctors, I don't know who will treat us.
AI.
Because these children are not ready for it. They don't even want to hear at all.
They just want something that will pay them well and quick.
Exactly. So, and all of them, they're in the tech field. You see people, okay, I'm a game developer. My cousin, he's like maybe, maybe 12, 13, 14, that range.
Yeah.
I went home for Christmas, so we're just gisting and we're there. Uncle, come and see what I developed. It was a full game.
Wow. See,
this is what I do for a living, and I was like, imagine I started at 14.
Yeah.
Where would I be by now, right? So I am very hopeful for them because they have chosen their paths and they are not even smiling. They are not compromising.
They're not joking about
if you tell them that, you must go to school, they'll tell you yes. they'll just go and do average. They will not pass, they will not fail.
Once they start earning, they won't even listen to you.
Do you understand? So yeah, I'm in tech wise, I am proud of what they are. The way they have their resolve is very clear.
Yeah.
But we also have to temper that strong-headedness with wisdom.
Yeah.
The reason why traditional professions have worked is because they generally work.
Yeah.
I even as a developer, I still get gigs as an architect. Oh, okay, come and design this house, come and do. You see, those things will never go away. No matter how AI tries to threaten that sector, somebody will still need a house.
Yeah.
And they will still need somebody to plan that house.
Yes.
And even if they can plan, they won't have the training, to know how houses should work.
Yeah.
So you understand. So we have to temper our adventurous spirit in terms of adopting tech with wisdom to respect traditional careers. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nosa, for joining us and sharing your insights.
Oh, you're welcome. I enjoy these sessions.
We do too, and I believe our viewers also do.
All right.
Next is Tech Tips. To stay with us.
Today on Tech Tips, we'll be giving you tips to guide Africa in making the most of technological advancements. Step 1. Invest in digital education and skills development. Offering accessible online courses and resources can help train the next generation of tech talent. Also, support local training centers that focus on practical skills in fields like web development, cybersecurity, and digital marketing. Step 2. Support local startups and entrepreneurs. Encourage the growth of local tech hubs that can help nurture innovative startups. Establish venture capital and crowdfunding platforms that cater specifically to African tech businesses. These will help reduce the financial barriers for entrepreneurs. Step 3. Foster government support and regulation. Governments should create favorable policies that promote innovation and investment in technology. This includes reducing regulatory hurdles for tech startups and implementing fair data protection laws. Step 4. Harness artificial intelligence, AI, and data. Governments and businesses should tap into the power of big data and AI to improve agriculture, health, education, and other critical sectors. For example, AI can help predict crop yields or optimize supply chains. Step 5. Strengthen cybersecurity awareness. With increased reliance on digital platforms, there's a need for better cybersecurity practices. Building a culture of cybersecurity awareness will protect individuals, businesses, and governments from rising threats. And finally, Step 6. Promote international partnerships and knowledge sharing. Engage with companies like Google, Microsoft, and Alibaba to bring their expertise, mentorship, and even investment to local markets. Encourage local developers to contribute to open source projects, creating global visibility for African tech talent and creating valuable resources for local solutions. These helps build local capacity while also integrating Africa into global tech ecosystems. And that's a wrap on the program today. Do also follow us across all our social media platforms for more programs, news, and documentaries. My name is Dorcas Yakubu. See you next week.